They are the face of my business. And the minute a customer walks through the door, I want them to immediately have a great perception of my store.
All right, so I am here in Mattoon with Monnie Sheehan. Did I say your name right?
You sure did.
Awesome. And you are the owner, is that how you would say it, of this franchise, this Dairy Queen franchise?
Most definitely owner-operator.
Owner-operator.
I own the Mattoon franchise, yes.
And when I came in, you were making a blizzard. So you're definitely an operator. You're not just like, sit in your car and drive by every now and then. You're work. Yeah. So I'm very curious about how franchises work, and I wanted to ask you about that. And I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions about this sort of thing. But before we get into that, I just wanted to see if you could tell me the story of this particular Dairy Queen.
Sure. My father started the Mattoon my father and two other gentlemen started the Mattoon franchise back in the 60s. And then when those gentlemen decided to get out, my father purchased their part of the franchise. So my father died 10 years ago, and when he died, our franchise is still the third oldest in the franchise system.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yes.
Dairy Queen is one of the oldest franchise restaurants, right? Like late 40s or something?
Yes, it is. It started in Joliet, Illinois. A fellow by the name of McCullough started it.
Wow. So this is the third franchise.
The third oldest franchise in the system.
That's crazy.
My royalty rates and my advertising rates that I have to pay into the company are really sweet.
You're grandfathered in.
Yes, I am. Yes, yes.
That's fantastic. So this has been here since the 60s, and your dad was the founder, and so you've been in this your whole life.
I worked here as a kid. I don't know if you remember, but we used to have these products called a Mr. Misty push-up.
Okay.
So they had these cylinders, okay, and a little plastic end, and we sold those things like crazy. Now, I come from a family of 5.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of 5.
Okay.
It was a great business for my dad to be in because he had 5 employees right off the bat. When I literally was 6 years old, just old enough to reach up on the counter, my dad had me pushing the bottoms on these Star Kiss tubes. He had this little apparatus that was square and had the perfect little size hole in it, and you'd put the cap on there and then you'd push down. And for every one I did, my dad gave me a penny.
Wow. So you were raking it in.
Yes, I was. I had a big box that I threw them in, and we've all worked the stores. At one time in our lives, through high school, college, it was a way of life.
So how long have you been the owner-operator of this location then?
Right now, about 28 years.
Wow.
Coming up on 29.
Okay. And so you've lived in Mattoon your entire life. Your family's been involved in this area your entire life.
I've lived in Mattoon my entire life, except for when I went away to college over at Millikan University. I was going to be a PE teacher and coach. I married my high school sweetheart. Life took me a different direction. We had a child that had special needs and some health issues. So it was best that I get into the family business.
I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me for the day. I wanted to ask you some questions about what it means to be a franchisor. Like, what are some misconceptions that people have when you tell them you're an owner of a local Dairy Queen? I
would somewhat guess that people think that I probably don't work my store a whole lot, and that that I'm just sitting back behind the scenes doing the paperwork, doing the reports for Dairy Queen, and that kind of thing.
And that's not the case at all.
That absolutely is not the case. There are many weeks that go by that I don't get a day off, especially now with the shortage of employees.
How hard is it to find good employees, and how important is that to the success of your franchise?
It's incredibly important. It's incredibly important for the business. It's incredibly important for the franchise. I try and hire an individual, first and foremost, with a great personality. Someone I know that can smile and greet a customer. Because when those customers come in that door, the first thing they want to see is a smile. Right. They are the face of my business. And the minute a customer walks through the door, I want them to immediately have a great perception of my store. So I choose someone that has a great smile, and we look for someone that cleans up and shows up. You know, I'm a little bit old-fashioned in that I want them to have a neat, clean appearance. You know, the Dairy Queen franchise, since we are such an old franchise, and this store has been in this community for so long, we have an incredibly large following of senior citizens. And they expect that of my business, the way I operate my store.
I have to imagine, like, in this world, how everything's gone online, and, you know, I was just talking to somebody, and they said, you eat a bad hamburger, or you eat a good hamburger, you tell 2 friends. You eat a bad hamburger, you tell 50, right?
Ryan, actually what we learned years ago was if you've had a bad experience at a restaurant, you don't just tell 2, you tell 10. Yes, this day and age has made it our job even more crucial. Social media can just absolutely, it just takes one experience with one customer with a camera and audio and filming, and it can sink you. It seriously can sink you, and it has an incredibly poor outlook for the franchise.
Yeah, it's like people, when I'm checking out a new restaurant, I always go on Google and I look at their reviews, and it's amazing. You could have a ton of 5-star reviews. You're always going to read the 1 stars, you know, and see what bad thing happened. And it's got to be it's almost probably a full-time job just to like keep up at and try to like please people and make sure people have a good experience.
You know, and folks need to realize when they go out there and look at those reviews that the turnover in the restaurant industry is quite large. Didn't used to be, but it is now. And what might have been a bad experience that you read on that 1-star review might have taken place a year ago or months ago, and that individual might not even be in your employ anymore. Or
you might have fired them for that particular offense.
Yes.
Well, I've come here many times. My family loves this place, and you guys always have smiling employees, and it's night and day difference here versus other, you know, even other Dairy Queens. Sometimes you can tell that they're not as well run as this one. And you're doing a great job. I don't want you to throw shade at anybody else. That's not what I'm after. But
and I tell my staff right up front, you know, we are serving people's food, and my restaurant, not only in Mattoon, but for the Dairy Queen system as a whole, I have an incredibly great reputation, and I don't want anything to spoil that.
Reputation is so important.
It's about everything. Yeah. It's about everything. How you treat your employees, you know, especially and obviously how you treat your customers.
Let me ask you one more question, and I'm going to try to wrap this up. If somebody came to you and they were just getting into business, maybe they were starting their own restaurant, or maybe it was a completely other related field, what piece of advice would you give them if you could only give them one piece of advice?
I would tell them to be prepared to work an incredible amount of hours. And if their business has any interaction with customers or salespeople or, you know, the public, the general public, you have to watch yourself at all times and how you treat those individuals.
All right. Well, thank you again so much. And again, come by here, give Monnie some business. She's running a great location here, and wow, the third
20 North 19th Street, by the way.
Yeah, I should have asked you that at the beginning. 19th Street in Mattoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.